What's up, everybody? Welcome. I'll say welcome back to the first reintroduction of the Solid Podcast. Many of you were great supportive listeners to our former podcast called the Solid Podcast over 2 years ago. Jeff Fieldstead and I did that together for a full 2 years. We got busy with some exciting things in our lives and took a break for 2 years. Did the Just Real Quick podcast with Jefferson Rogers. And now we're back to bringing back the Solid Podcast. And we've got a very exciting episode for you today. I've got my co-hosts. Do you still call them co-hosts if there's more than two?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got my co-host, Jeff Fieldstead.
What's up, everybody?
And Jefferson Rogers. Excited to be here.
In the house.
In the house. And we've also got, and by the way, if you're new to the Solid Podcast, we're about everything about living a solid life. Okay, so that's kind of what Solid stands for. Whether that be in your faith, finances, family, fitness, firearms, fun, I don't know, whatever, right? All the good things in life. And so today we have just an incredible guest here with us. His name is Daniel G. G stands for a very long, hard to say last name, so I'll probably let him tell us what that is. But he just flew in today. We're in St. George, Utah. They flew into Salt Lake because they wanted to add an extra 4 hours.
In the snow.
Yeah. And they're here.
Almost ended up in 4 ditches, but it's good.
You never forget those trips, though.
Yeah.
We're like swerving. I'm like, guys, that's called black ice. I'm from Canada. We get it.
Yeah, he's from Canada.
Well,
So
I told Brandon, I said, you better tell him it's bad weather.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
lives in Miami.
No, I'm
he
like,
said,
we're
no, he's
going
from
for it.
Canada.
Yeah.
We're going for it.
Yeah.
He's from Canada. I said, all right, he might be all right.
yeah, he just sent it. I sent him a flight option, but he's like, we'll just send it. We'll go. So anyway, he's here with us today. If you don't know Daniel G., I would say that he is, without a doubt right now, the very top sales and business trainer in the world. And he's been on something like 250-plus flights last year in 2025, 2026 kicking off. He's already been on a couple trips. And I'll let you talk about this, Daniel. I don't know how many millions of people he's trained. But if you start paying attention and following this guy, you're going to get a tremendous amount of value to help you in just communication skills, sales skills, business knowledge, and I think also just living an all-around great life. So, Daniel, we're excited to have you. Mm-hmm. And I think if you wouldn't mind just starting off, I've got a lot of questions for you.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about what got you into the sales industry. I know you started very young with that. Maybe an idea of how many lives you have, how many people you have trained, and what you do.
Yeah, that's difficult. Yeah. Like when I started training, I asked a mentor that you guys know, older in the space. I won't mention him, but I said, "Man, how do you measure all the impact that you have?" Because in the beginning, when somebody said, "Man, you changed my life," or "You helped me make this much sales," I'd screenshot it, right? And then I'd post it, right? I'd have this bank on my phone called funeral prospects, because I'm like, if you have a big funeral, that means you helped out a lot of people. So I'd be like, every time somebody tells me I changed their life, I'm going to screenshot it and put it in this album. And then it just started coming more and more and more. And you're trying to measure impact. Mm-hmm. And then he just looked at me. He's like, you just got to know it's getting done, but you'll never be able to monitor it. He's like, because it's going to make you go wild, because you're going to want to say, am I doing? He's like, you just got to know you're getting it done. Through your work, you just got to know the impact's coming. So I don't know how many lives impacted. Trained salespeople, maybe 2 to 3 million at this point, online and offline. Well over 100,000 students through all our programs in the last 6 years, which was almost natural. I admit this, I'm a bad infopreneur. An infopreneur is like the guys that sell courses online. I'm actually horrible at that game, because I came in the game from the old sales space where they come and they go run seminars. So I was really good at the seminar game, speaking in person, for 8 hours, but horrible at doing the online selling. How do you do a funnel? Still horrible at it. My numbers should be 100 times higher. So I just emulated a lot of the old players that came up. The guys you guys know, Brian Tracy, Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, all those guys, because I used to watch them growing up. Yep. And I always said, I'm like, damn, if these guys can put 1,000 people in a room or 2,000 people in a room and there was no social media, what the heck are we doing? I better figure out this game, right?
In my opinion, that's where all the value is, though.
Right.
If you do it online, it's a different feel.
Yes.
So I think it's natural for you, and you're probably not good at that because it's important to you to bring that value.
Yeah.
I like the reciprocation of energy. I like when we're in a crowd and people are like, huh, and they're nodding their heads. Online, sometimes you just don't got it, right? So I told my guys, I said, well, the offline content worked better online because I was more energetic. I was more with the crowd, and it gave us a bigger online presence, right? So, yeah, man, dialing it back, I started sales when I was in door-to-door sales when I was 14 for my first company, home services.
Okay.
We're doing people's driveways. There was something called aeration. That was a service. We'd poke holes in people's grass, allow it to breathe. We had bad winters, right? You guys do aeration? Okay?
We do.
Yeah, so that was one of our services. 15, I started building a sales team. Didn't know the company had a comp plan. My manager told me when I was 15, he said, hey, you want to keep working or do you want to make money? And I'm like, what does that mean? And he said, man, he's like, you're going to have to knock for the rest of your life or you never get paid. So he started teaching me about leverage and, building out a sales team at a very young age. So I started recruiting people at 15. I built a sales team. 15 and a half, I built my first sales team.
Were these people your same age? Were there some older
They were
people?
older.
Okay.
They were all older.
Like how much older?
I mean, they were already in college and university. So I went to all my brother's friends. My brother was 4 years older. I started recruiting all of them because he hit me with the line where he's like, are you getting paid Monday to Friday? I said, no. He's like, well, recruit people that can work for you Monday to Friday. So I was logical. I said, go find where your prospects are or my recruits are. They're not in my high school. So I had to look up, So I teach people, like, take your finger and look up and prospect the people above you, right? Because they had time to prospect in college and university.
Yeah.
Usually,
so obviously you had your brother that helped you there, but how did you?
No, I just tapped into him. I didn't even need his help. I just started saying, Steve, give me all your friends' numbers.
And they believed you because you were getting results. You're 14, they're 18, 19.
Yeah, I showed them all my paychecks. Well, my paychecks were in cash at the time. The company was paying us in cash. They don't exist anymore, probably for that reason. But yeah, man, I started sales when I was 14. Built out the sales team when I was 15. I understood what freedom looked like. We always think it's, build a passive income on top of your active business. But I'm like, damn, you could build both inside of a business. Like, you can have passive and active. And my coach told me when I was young, he said, the winner still is active and has passive inside of their business. He's like, the loser's just always trying to shoot for passes. So it's like they've already taken their foot off the wheel.
Yeah.
He's like, if you keep your foot on the wheel and you continue being a salesman and you build a passive business inside of your business, then you'll have all this money to invest in passive real estate and everything like that.
Well, and the fact is, I've always told everybody that, like, you get to a point where your active income almost can't impact. It has such a small impact on your overall income from your passive income of your team or your overrides. It doesn't really matter whether or not, right? That really is the goal from leading from the front, right?
Right. Yeah, and I think what I realized is when I was young, I said, if I stop working my business, I don't get paid. And then one day he came up to me. I was about 2 months into building my team. He said, dude, you have such a small team. To me, it was huge because I had like nine kids on my team. They were like 17, 18. And he's like, man, if like half these guys quit, you're screwed. And I said, oh, yeah. Because like, you don't think of it, but like playing small is risky, right? Because if one person quits your sales company, you're done. That's 50% of your sales team, right? Or if that's 50% of your income. So that's what made me think it doesn't matter if one person quits. Nobody's going to notice. The paycheck's not going to notice, right? It's like if somebody spills wine and you're at a big dinner table and it's all the way at the end of the dinner table, nobody notices the red stain. But if it's on a small dinner table with nobody, everybody recognizes it, right? So, yeah, so I've been thinking always big since I was 15.
That's interesting. I mean, I love what you just said there. I mean, people get a false sense of security when they start having success making a lot of money, but they have a small team. And they're in a high risk situation because they don't have a bigger team. So you were 14 when you started. How old are you now?
32.
32.
Yep.
And you are like as fired up as I've ever seen anybody.
Yeah, more fired up now than before.
You're just more passionate. It seems like it just continues to grow and compound. So what do you do, or what would you say to people that go, man, how do I keep, because we're in the door knocking business with JKR Windows, right? And I think sometimes people go, how quick can I get off the doors? And they'll go hit it hard for a few months, and then it's like they want to graduate beyond that. I think way too early. What are your thoughts on that? How do you keep passionate? How do you get past that? How do you keep yourself going?
Yeah. So my business, I mean, my family was just in my house. I flew them into South Florida, my aunt and my mother, and they're looking at me in the morning because they watch me on social media a lot. And they're watching like me, high energy. And then they actually watch me in my house when I wake up. Like, I'm working right in the morning. I'm already fired up in the morning. And they're asking me like, well, how do you get all this energy? What are you taking? Because I'll take some, my aunt said. And I told her, I said, Zia, which is like aunt in Italian. I told her, I said, listen, if you were in my business, first of all, you wouldn't have the option. I said, you wouldn't have the option because I said, I'm in a sales training business. People are expecting me to give them enthusiasm. I can't go and be like, all right, guys, sales is great. I said, I don't have the option. So I said, think of it. You just asked me that question. I didn't think of it this morning because I don't have the option. You have the option not to be fired up. Why? Because I said, the less of responsibility you have, the more of an option it becomes to have energy or not. The more of a responsibility, if anybody's watching this that has kids, everybody would agree that kids give somebody a sense of purpose to work harder. Because my whole life, I was successful money-wise since I was young. So the number one thing that somebody told me when I was growing up, 20, 21, my family, get kids. It's going to provide a sense of purpose in your life. I said, I agree with you. And I said, but imagine you had a team of 50 people, 100 people. Do you know how much sense of purpose that gives you when you have to wake up in the morning, those people are staring at you and like, make me a paycheck?
It's awesome.
I said, so the kids thing, you're right. And I said, imagine that magnified, I told my aunt. I said, you wake up in the morning and then you have a stage of 1,000. I said, I don't have an option. I said, the more of your responsibility, the less of an option you have to be fired up.
Yeah.
So most people that have no energy, I magnify every example. That's the way I work. So I said, just imagine a kid that has zero responsibility and has zero job. He doesn't have to have energy. He can lay in bed and play PS5, right? So that's the first thing. I'm in a high adrenaline business in training and in sales, right? Meaning that like if somebody again stepped in my position, they would say, "Oh damn, like yeah, when you get off stage, you'd think you'd be exhausted, but it's actually 10 times more because so many people are giving you energy." Right. So I'm in a constant like spark of adrenaline. But I think the third thing is, from answering your question, is when somebody's trying to say, I want to get off the doors, you're moving now away from adrenaline, from the close. You know what I mean? Like you have to play for both. You want to get adrenaline, keep closing deals, right? Keep being in sales. So why? And also that's an indicator that person might be a weak leader because they're already saying they're already giving up, because they're saying they're already indicating like, hey, by the way, I already want to give up my sales job. So it's a sign of weakness when I say you're never going to stop selling. Don't think for a second, because they're trying to get away from the work, essentially.
Right.
And they think by having a team, it just might be easier. I said, you're going to have to come in the morning, sell to your team. You're going to have to sell to people that have low motivation. You're going to have to help people out inside of your team. It's not going to stop, so don't try to cheat the work. Most people that say, I want to get off the doors, or I want to get off the phones, or I want to stop selling customers. I said, are you trying to get out of the work? Because you ain't ever going to cheat the work. I don't know who's trying to lie to you, but you're never going to cheat the work.
It actually drains you more thinking that way than just accepting what it is.
Well, it's interesting. I love what you say, dude, about the option, because I've always said if success is an option for you, then it won't be an option for you. And most people look at it as optional, right? Where really it's not for somebody who has this desire to go win, right? So I love that. That's how you talk about it. If success is an option for you, then it won't be an option.
Then it won't be an option for you. Interesting.
Because winning, I mean, you have to have this sickening desire that's like, man, no matter what it takes, I'm going to do it, right?
Yeah.
So regardless of whether that's knocking on the doors, closing a sale across the kitchen table, being fired up on stage, putting the effort and the value that you have to bring for somebody to want you to come back, right? And I think a lot of people, they do that work, and I think you're right, that they hope that, if I recruit and train somebody, then I get out of it, where really it's giving you that responsibility to say, now I'm going to have to deliver more because now someone's counting on me.
Right.
So I don't have to only do what I did before, but now I've got to do it plus some because now somebody else is counting on me, which is your point to kids.
Yeah.
Great point, dude. I love that.
You know, there's pros and cons. Like, you got more people, you have to have more energy, but also it stretches you as an individual because it shows your potential and your capability. I was on a call with my team last night. I told them, I said, guys, you know, we walk into 2026. If you really want to, you know, expand the way you think and your goal setting, etc., or just see what you're capable of, you got to compress things. Meaning you got to have like whatever you want to get done in a week, you got to get it done in a day, whatever. Because then when you compress something, your brain stretches because then it realizes, I can do this within 35 minutes or I can do this within the day, right? So I think, you know, by having responsibility or whatever the case is, like you start to stretch yourself to be like, I can become responsible more than just one person. I have more capabilities inside of me. I just believe that most people just don't stretch themselves enough. They don't see how much they're capable of. Like that's what kills every top performer. If somebody asks a top performer, why do you work so hard? I think the top performer just wants to see, can we keep stretching it until we get punched in the face and we're like, okay, let's slow down. Like every top performer loves that. Whether it's an athlete, they just wait to get punched in the face a bit and they're like, all right, that's our threshold right now. But you're stretching until you get a little bit of a punch, right? And then you're just, all right, that's where we're at right now. But most people never experience that slap or that punch.
Yeah. I mean, I know why I think that is. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people try to avoid that?
Safety. Well, I mean, why do people try to avoid it? I think it's safety. It's a way you're programmed inside of life. You're not programmed unless you have an athletic mentality. An athlete always wants to be at the top. They just hate losing. So an athlete always. That's why athletes work great inside of sales. But on the way here, Moose, one of my guys, is at the hotel right now. He shows me a video. He's like, dude, that post that you said you got to be pissed off in order to become successful. He's like, that was it. And then he turns to us. He's like, are you more pissed off at the people that are winning or pissed off at yourself? And I'm like, probably myself. I said, I think that's how winners operate. They just hate losing. So they look at themselves and they're just mad. And I said, you got to be, there has to be this point of aggression that when you're playing in the middle inside of sales and you're at like the 4th or 5th spot and there's somebody at level 1, there has to be this point where you're mad, whether it's at the other person or yourself. But if that doesn't happen, you never race to the top. I said there has to be some sort of aggression inside of business. Back to the point, I just think if you weren't an athlete, if you didn't play in sports, if somebody didn't say, hey, you got to be number 1, hey, we got to win. And I think now more than ever, people are, they're satisfied in position number 2 and position number 3.
Yeah, everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah, everybody gets a trophy. Yep. But what do you think it is? Why people?
I think people avoid pain.
Yeah.
I think it's uncomfortable. So when you push yourself to that, to your analogy, getting punched in the face, it's uncomfortable and it hurts. And then most people go, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. And, getting rejection in sales, it's like, you start prospecting, someone tells you no. At the beginning, you're excited, you're sold on it yourself. So you're like, man, everybody's going to say yes to this. And then you realize that, no, that's not going to happen. Uh-huh. And that hurts their ego. It hurts their pride. They start wondering, man, am I really good? Can I really do this? And then they avoid that discomfort. I agree with you thinking on athletes that I think the reason why athletes do well in sales is because they realize that pain is what leads to winning. Mm-hmm. So it's normal, right? It's like you're supposed to hurt. When you lose, your coach tells you to run ladders until you throw up.
Right.
I was a boxer. It's like you're supposed to get punched in the face. If you're not getting punched in the face, something's wrong.
Right.
So it's like, how do you put yourself in a situation to stay uncomfortable and continue to seek discomfort? Because I think that's another thing. You'll see guys that get to this level, or maybe it's $100,000 a year, $250,000 a year, and then they let up, right? And then they let up, and then maybe they fall back to 100 or 80, and then they start doubting themselves. Right. I'm sure you see that happen a lot in sales.
Yeah. It's either a win is money in somebody's eyes or it's a sign. And if it's only money, you'll let up. If it's a sign that whatever you did works, you double down. That's like,
damn, that was good,
right?
Dude.
You think of it like a top producer when they make $30,000 in a month. A loser is going to say, okay, let me just go spend this. A winner is going to say, damn, if I just did 30, blood in the water, the shark just goes crazy because they're like, man, this is not normal. I tell salespeople, I say, guys, this is not normal. If you have a $9,000 week, that's a sign that whatever you did worked out, you better optimize towards that. You better not go to bed until that's your new standard or whatever the case is. So I look at my wins as signs. I don't really look at it always as money. That's why I never got excited. And I think sometimes excitement in sales kills people. Mm-hmm. When you have a good week or a good month, the real brain should be like, okay, what did I do to get here? Because obviously now that's a sign that it works out. Yeah. Like when people ask, like,
did you do athletics as a kid?
Yeah, I played all sports except for sports because I'm small, so I didn't play football. Basketball stopped in grade school.
You do hockey?
Yeah. Stopped too as well. Got to be big. You're not playing, I don't know what you guys call it here, but after AA, AAA, or minor leagues, you're out. Got to be 6+. Mm-hmm. So just soccer my whole life. So I think even for that, it's the thing of comparison and competition is what drives people inside of sales, and it's actually healthy. So when I hear leaders sometimes saying don't compare, I say, yeah, but tell your team because I think comparing means comparing to yourself at the top is actually healthy. That's what actually drives results. I think comparing to people below you is probably unhealthy. Mm-hmm. But if you're a true athlete, all you do is look up when we're young. Mm-hmm. All you do is compete and compare to people at the top of you if you want to win. I said, if it like demotivates you, then business and sales is probably not right for you. But if it drives you and you look up, then sales is right for you. If you're looking up and you're like, damn, how did that person have $100,000 a month? And you keep looking at it, sales is probably the right sport for you.
Yeah. Can you teach that, or does it have to be?
No, you can't teach somebody.
You have to find it.
You can't teach. I mean, you can't just teach somebody to care and win.
Agree.
That's the thing. Like, that's the only thing. I guess my grandfather told me that. He's like, you'll never teach somebody how to care. Stop.
Yep.
Teach somebody how to care to win.
You can't teach desire.
can't.
I always say it's
Right.
like pushing a wet noodle. It
Yeah.
just don't work.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like you'll get
You
hit
either got
in
it
life.
or you don't. But you can build it, because I've seen people, me included, that didn't have it, and then there was a spark, and then things started happening.
Yeah, I think you can give people the game plan. You can give people the game plan. You can give people all the skills. You can give it to everybody, but they got to identify it inside of their head. Like again, it goes back. One person's mind, whether they know it or not, a winner, when they make 5,000, there's something, no leader maybe thinks of it the way I think of it, but there's something that happened in that leader's mind, why they went from a $5,000 to a $50,000 a month, because all that happened in their mind was, oh, this works.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
They didn't care about the 5,000. Maybe in the beginning, but then they made it 2 or 3 times and said, man, this actually works out. Let's go all in.
Yeah, sometimes you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe it can work, but sometimes all you can do is hope to believe, and you start working in that direction, and you start proving to yourself these little tiny wins. Oh, if I did these little tiny wins, I can do more, right?
Well, that's self-esteem, right? I mean, that's how you build a good self-esteem. And I think to your point where you said, a lot of people do say that, compete, don't compare. I'm like, I don't know. I think you should compare as long as you use the feedback as a positive self-esteem builder.
Right.
The problem is most people
compare to what?
Yeah, most people use comparison and then they beat themselves up with it, and then they let it lower their self-esteem. Like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you're at a certain level and you're comparing yourself to someone, to go, dang, man, yeah, I've done good, but this dude has done 10 times better. If he's done it, why not me? And that's just a person using comparison as something to build them versus
As fuel
beat themselves
instead
up.
of a victim mindset.
Yeah.
Because people will find any excuse not to win if they're just not winners.
True.
But, Brandon always, what are you going to call Jeff's book when he writes it?
No chance in hell.
Because he have every chance in the world to use it as an excuse coming from the background that he came from. And, you hear a ton of successful people that just came from a rough background. They used it as fuel to go to the
he
next
definitely
level.
learned grit from that, which I think is a key element too to winning is
No
grit.
doubt.
You got to have it.
There's a balance between what you guys are speaking about. To me, it's like you got to make sure you understand that you're achieving and then also compare at the same time. Meaning, if you don't, you're always going to go into self-sabotage. So I'll give you guys a good example. In January 1st this year, I ran that webinar, right?
Yep.
And I had this number in mind in sales to make after webinar because I don't do webinars and virtual events. So I'm like, all right, this is the number. This is what my friends made. This is what I'm going to make on the webinar. So we didn't make it. Again, I lack the skill set in selling online. Completely different game. If somebody puts me in a room with people, I'll close them in. But the whole selling online webinar, 45 slides, don't know how to do it. Like, I'm horrible at it, dude. Like, if somebody says, go sell my product on stage and go talk about these testimonials, don't know how to do it. So I'm doing this webinar.
By the way, you know what's cool about this? Keep going. But what's cool about this, in my opinion, is Daniel G sucks at something too.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's a whole different skill.
Yeah.
Like, there's a guy named, do you guys ever hear of Russell Brunson?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm with him tomorrow in Mexico.
I served a church mission 2 years.
Yes.
Actually picked him up from the airport when he came into the mission, and then I was going home.
Oh, really?
Kind of crazy. Anyway,
Yeah,
small world.
his kids, I think his kids work at the church missions too now
Yeah,
as well.
they're
I was with him a couple weeks ago in Vegas. We were doing an event. And I'm like, dude, we live in completely different worlds. Because, like, I'm the type of guy, get me one-on-one, I'll teach you how to handle the objections. But he can, like, frame anybody in, like, one-to-many selling, right? Which, again, different sales process. So, and then I'm going to go tomorrow or in Mexico in a couple of days and go pick his brain because we go do this event together in Mexico. And I'm like, dude, what the hell did we do wrong here? But, so, I'm doing this event. I don't hit the numbers I want to hit. So, first automatic thing, because we're competitive, you just go, damn, I'm pissed off.
What was the number anyways?
It was $500,000 in an hour, right? And I'm just like, damn, guys are happy because, like, we were just, I think we were shy of it, maybe 300 and something for the night. Probably close it out this week after phone calls and everything.
That's still pretty
after
badass.
upsells.
Yeah.
Team's fired up, but I'm already pissed off, right? Because it's just the number. I didn't care about any of the money. I just wanted the number. And I'm thinking, how the heck did I screw up? Where did I screw up in the pitch? Should I have went longer? Should I just stayed on live with them for 12 hours and not got off the live stream with them for 12 hours and just keep selling? And then I had to say, okay, good. Then I'm thinking like that's the right way. Athlete, competition, comparison. But at the same time, this is where also people screw up because they self-sabotage. It might lead me into not wanting to do it again. So then I had to go back to, okay, what did you achieve? The right amount of people opted in. maybe the right amount of people were inside of the event. I had to go look at my achievements too as well. Because most people, if I go ask them, if I'm like, hey, Bob, when's the last time you achieved something? They'd be like, oh, shit, I don't remember. So I had to think about like, okay, first, what was your achievement? Because nobody ever marks down how much they've achieved. They're always going to the next goal and they never really achieve anything. So that's important to me to balance it out, to be like, okay, what was your achievement number one, or my self-esteem is going to get crushed? Because if I don't recognize, if my brain, which is logic, and my heart, which is like all the desire and the emotions, etc., if it doesn't recognize that I've achieved something, it's going to stop working towards the next goal. It's just going to stop automatically, because it's like anything you put on a piece of paper, this guy's a liar, right? So I have to write down, like, I ask most people, if you go ask a team, like, when's the last time you achieved something, they'll freeze. They'll never remember, like, usually their last goal that they hit. They'll be focused on a $50,000 goal. And then I'll say to them, I say, like, when's the last time you achieved just a small one? Maybe a day goal, right amount of prospects answered the phone, or something small that you could be like tick at the end of the night, because that's your self-esteem builder, right? At the end of the night. It's those tick-offs, right? So you got to have this balance between competition, but also not just the art of goal setting, but the art of achievement, right? So, and I think very early on when you get into sales, there might be somebody watching this and they're 6 months inside of sales or 4 months in. People have different building blocks. So we can come into a new sales gig and smash it because we've been in sales for so long. But somebody else, I say, hey, listen, I know your team's going to edify you just based on money, but you got to have your own checklist to be like, okay, maybe 4 people answered the door. Maybe these, what is your checklist of your wins that you can get fast? And if you're a team leader, you might just not want to edify based solely off results and money. You might want to have a KPI that a win is considered, how many people answered, whatever the case is. So that person has a sort of achievement, or that person's going to think they're a loser. And then the results is just a byproduct of activity. Yeah. So if there's no edification based off activity, results don't come because the person's confidence is going to be smashed.
That's good.
Right?
That's good. Let me ask you this, because one of the things sorry, you were going to say something.
No, it's okay.
But one of the things I love about what you do is I think you have a really good balance between what you're talking about, which is the thinking side of things, and the how-tos as far as what to say and how to say it. What would you say is the balance between those two as these salespeople are coming in? How much time should they be spending on skills, and how much time should they be spending on mindset? And is it something you just continuously do forever? I think I know the answer, but I wanted to see what your thoughts are on that.
I think the both play is always important, meaning like I'm a huge executor, meaning so I believe like you go out on the day, you go knock, you go to bed at nighttime, you treat this like a university. You go to bed, you study for an hour, 30 minutes, you just get better every single day. You don't rush it. You can't rush. You don't stop studying because it'd be like somebody saying, okay, I worked out when I was 21 and I don't work out anymore. Muscle memory only goes so far, right? Yep. So I think people have to understand that as business owners, it's like there's always more. Like I just said it to people here so they know I'm not a hypocrite. It's like I just said I'm going to go to Mexico and I'm like, I'll hack Russell. I'll give him, hey, here's 20. What do you want right now? You're here right now. I'll give you 20, 30,000 bucks. I just need to learn this skill, right? So I think that never stops, but it's in fine balance of execution, right? So I think it's both. You work your numbers and skills.
Because I think sometimes people wonder, Cav. I mean, to me, I just tried to do a lot of activity and do a ton of repetitions as quickly as I could as I was learning the skill set. I see other people, all they do is spend time on the skill set, but they don't ever go do the activity.
Yeah, I know you're going to come in. That's where people get messed up. We're in a day and age. I just see it so much. People are learning all these skills. And I get it, like, the sales coach is being like, you have to increase your skill. You have to increase your skill. But I go back to when I was a closer. My company gave me a script. I knew that script better than anybody else. That was enough for that. There was, for a certain point to get there, I asked people, I'm like, dude, can you even rehearse your script to me? Forget about reading 15 sales books or buying into my coach. Can you even rehearse your script? Why are you coming to me? The question's not what do you got to learn more of? It's like, why don't you know the basics yet? Good. So before people go to all this skill building or go buy anything, if they can't master their basics inside of the job, they already have a problem.
Yeah, it's fundamentals. I'm going to go back to sports, right? There's always a fundamental, whatever that is, depending on the sport. And sales is a sport, to your book, the sales game, right? So I think that's important. But, there's a saying that says that competence breeds confidence. And I think there's a couple of missing things in between there where competence, where you learning skills, but then you have to have a tremendous amount of activity and results, and the competence plus activity plus results is really where you gain the confidence. And then you have that feedback loop that is like, dang, I learned this skill, I applied it, I got enough to where I got a result, and that increased my confidence, so I'm going to do it more. And so I think a lot of times that's what people do, and you see people go to the next level, which is why where you're at right now, and you say, hey, I got to go learn from Russell. Don't you think that happened because early on in your career someone gave you a script, you went and knocked on a door, you ran the script, you got a result, you said, damn, that worked. So no matter what industry you went in, it's the same fundamental.
Yep.
It doesn't change, right?
Yep.
It likely won't be any different.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Once you get this thing down, in a year from now, that 500,000 will seem like an old goal.
Well, that's also a baby number, and you're thinking like, okay, I just don't have the script.
Yeah.
I don't have the
That's it.
fundamentals.
That's it.
Like, and by the way, I have the raw materials. So like, I want
which is the value, by the way, which you've put in a lot of effort and a lot of energy and a lot of
Correct.
time being confident that you have the value.
that, the hunger, right? Like the childlike
desire,
hunger, the
yep.
desire, like those are all the raw materials. So before I go on this one-to-many selling, I know I have all the raw materials. I'm saying everything, the spiel and but it's not the fundamentals that is in the right script, right? So you master the basics. Most sports, it's very basics. It's just the best people just master the basics better than anybody else because there's no the Harlem Globetrotters don't get paid the most. You know what I mean? But they're the fanciest people.
Yeah.
But they don't get paid the most. So I asked some people, I'm like, I think you're trying to be like the Harlem Globetrotters. Like, you want all the skill sets in the world, every tone in the world. But I'm like, dude, honestly, basketball, football, you go look at this sport, it's so basic. They just master the basics.
Yep.
In soccer, you just got to have the most perfect pass, the most perfect shot. You know, you just like
This is interesting. And in your book, you talk about some of this stuff, but I would love to hear your perspective on this because I think when you master these basics or you master these fundamentals, I think, and I'm sure you'd agree, that the reason why these guys get paid big money when they've mastered the fundamentals, and some people say I'm good at it, is I think they got so good at it, it slowed the game down for them, and so they can actually understand what's happening. And I think in sales, a lot of times, you'll see a guy who knows the script, and he's sitting across the kitchen table, and he runs the script perfectly, but he doesn't get a close. And it's because he hasn't internalized it enough to actually slow down what's happening and really pay attention to how the customer's body language is, what they actually said, how to
So good.
respond.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 150%. It's like then you're almost trying to figure out the why behind the script and not just like what the words are.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason behind the script. So that's cool that you said that because I always tell people, hey, think about what you're saying. Like, yes, there's a script, but think about it. Like right now, maybe you just got to let them talk right now. Just breathe for a second. I know you got to go through your script, but always think the script's written in a reason behind every single line. There's a reason behind every line. It's obviously worked, but yeah, you got to think once you master it, I think then you can sit down and say, okay, what does this whole script mean?
Yeah.
And why do we say it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think so often people don't realize why you have to master something. And a lot of times it's just slow it down. You know, if you talk to somebody who's ever played professional sports, they say the difference between going from college to the pros is the speed of the game. And the reason why the game speeds up is it didn't change, but now you're competing against guys who are so talented and so good at these fundamentals that they can run it without thinking.
And you can watch it and see it. You can watch a
it's-
college basketball game versus a pro NBA game, and the NBA game's slower.
Yeah.
But they're professionals,
They're
right?
better at the fundamentals.
Yeah.
They're better at the fundamentals, and
Which
they're
one of
able to
those is-
respond quickly.
When you're in an interaction like that with a customer, if you're just running script, if they need it real bad, every once in a while you're just going to run into a sale.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're trying to get these people emotionally connected with what you're offering. And if you're so concerned about the script, how are you ever going to get somebody emotionally connected and be able to listen to questions and answer intentionally?
So to me, this is like mastering people. You know, I love in your book, because I say it all the time, it's like if you're going to master something, master people. Because you're going to ask a question, then you're going to get a response. And two people could respond the exact same way and mean something totally different. And if you're not really paying attention, you might hear it, but you didn't listen to what they were saying. You don't realize that even though they said the same thing, overcoming that objection could be two totally different responses, right? And so I think a lot of times people in life, so whether they're in sales or, everybody's in sales in some way, but regardless of what somebody's doing in life, these communication skills are going to help them, whether it's with their spouse, with their kids, whether they're at a restaurant, or they are in sales or leadership, right? This ability to communicate. And I would love to hear your perspective on what, obviously you were in sales at a young age. My guess is that prior to 14 years old, you had some people skills or somebody in your life that taught you how to communicate. Maybe it was look someone in their eyes, shake their hands.
Or a big family, right?
Yeah, something. Yeah, so I would love to hear what your perspective is, because I didn't grow up that way. It was very hard for me. I learned from Tom Hopkins. And so I had to start learning how to ask questions and then shut up long enough to actually listen to a response, to start even like, does somebody even care, you know? But I would love to hear, where did it start for you? Because it had to have started before you were 14.
Yeah, it did. Like I was, first of all, this is a overlooked skill. Like I would almost people watch when I was young. I was very just weird of like how people would respond to certain things. So I'd ask, like so when my parents went through a divorce, I was 10. So when I went down to the psychology of like why I love sales, I like watched like, okay, why did this argument stop? How could this argument have been prevented? Because I watched when arguments got prevented, and it was like either my mother or my father just like, just being like, yeah, I'm sorry. And just like trying not to go into the argument. You never fight fire with fire inside of sales, right? Like the only way you can have a mature conversation is somebody has to step up to the leadership plate and like apologize first. Jim Rohn always used to say, he's like, the most powerful words in the English dictionary are I'm sorry. It leads to every other new relationship, right? And I said, oh, okay, so that's the way you stop an argument, which is like sales at the end of the day. You don't, when there's an objection, right? When we're creating these rebuttals and these scripts, it's like, you don't want to fight with the customer.
Right.
You just want to acknowledge it first, right? So it was people watching, number one. I had to get my way out of situations. I was a small guy. I had to talk to people. So when they wanted to, kick my butt when I was small, I had to always talk to people. Okay, how can I influence them to not kick my ass inside of the circle, right? Yeah. And sometimes I would like poke it, like I'd want it. I thought school was boring, so I always wanted action. I always wanted to poke the big guy, and I liked reaction inside of life. So I knew certain words can trigger people. I also knew certain words can stop them, like in the act. Yeah. Hey, dude, what if we do this? That? Oh, that's what stops that guy. That's his need. That's his want. And everybody has a different need and want inside of life. So then when you grow up with your friends, you start to realize, you have to sell people in different ways in order to get to what you want. So if I had a friend and he was single and I wanted to go out, I'd say, dude, I heard this bar has the best looking women. Okay, he's going to come out. Another guy would be like, man, I heard this bar has the best whiskey, but I'm going to say certain things because I'm like, okay, this is how this person ticks. To me, that was always interesting. I didn't know it was sales at the time. In my first year, I didn't even think I was in sales. Yeah. My first year, I actually didn't think I was sales. I was treating my sales gig just like a job. Like I didn't think of like he's like, read the script, knock on doors. That's it. I didn't think I was a salesman.
Do you think that
until I got my first Tom Hopkins book? Maybe because like I just treated it like work. I didn't put it on a pedestal. I didn't think about it like sales. I just treated it like work. Yeah. And I was grateful for it because I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get a job right now because I'm 14, 15. So I was grateful for it, and I didn't treat it like sales. I didn't think of it like rejection or anything like that. I always looked at the end of the day, the end of the week, what can I make? Yeah, I didn't really treat it like sales until I was 15, I think, 15, 16. Until my first year of knocking on doors. I knocked on doors 3 days a week, 52 weeks straight. Never took a weekend off. We had services that were, throughout the winter. So until I picked up my first Tom Hopkins book, I'm like, oh, I'm in sales. Yeah. Like this is selling. How to ask the right questions and, the art of communication. Yeah. But I think I built up those micro skills, just people watching and responding, watching how people respond and reaction. I'd always look at reaction, how people react to certain words. Okay, I'm not going to say that next time. A lot of it's common sense, man. Sometimes I think a lot of sales reps don't have something called being self-reliant enough to say, okay, that triggers that response. Don't say it again. Let's see how it's, there's not a lot of analysis after a conversation. I think people just go on to the next conversation and say, man, your wins have a lot of clues. Think of what you just said. Maybe that joke is a good joke. Maybe that joke's a bad joke. Some people say the same joke and it doesn't get a laugh. Okay, maybe it's time to stop saying that joke. Yeah. Right? Like, especially if you're in door-to-door sales, you're in a high-volume sport where it's, you can start, the customers are going to tell you how to sell them. If you're aware enough and you're conscious enough throughout your day, your customers are literally going to say, this is how you sell me. Yeah. You just got to be writing it down, right?
Yeah, it's interesting, man, because I think a lot of people don't go watch their own film. You ever watch yourself or what you post on social media?
100%.
You ever go back and watch an event you put on?
Every day. Still to today. I'm my best editor. I tell my editors, don't post this.
Yeah. So it's interesting because you hear a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like to listen to the sound of my own voice, or I don't like watching myself. It's like, it doesn't matter what you like. And if you don't like it, what are the odds that somebody else does? So at some point, you've got to be willing to get uncomfortable enough to go back and watch your own film and decide what needs to be changed and adjusted so that you can get a better result, even if the result was good. Right? Like I always tell everybody, a lot of times, if somebody's learning and they're trying to get better at sales, they'll get an objection they didn't know how to overcome, and they'll call their coach, hey, how do I overcome this objection? And that's a pretty obvious one. But I think another mistake a lot of people make is they don't call their coach after they did close a sale. So they did get a close, but they didn't realize maybe it could have been bigger, or maybe they could have recruited that person, or maybe there could have been a different outcome. Maybe they could have got more referrals. Maybe they could have went and gone and see the neighbor. But because they didn't call somebody who had a higher level or a future view of what it could look like, they didn't even know that existed. Right?
That's like when, Brandon, you said sometimes you kill success with success. So when you have a deal, you're like, oh, that's it. Right? So for me, like, even if we're done a seminar and we don't do something for a year, I tell my guys, I'm like, hey, the win's not done. Like, go contact the individual. Keep going. Like, sell yourself back that you're a 5.
Yeah.
If you think you're a 10, you're done. You got to stay in like the level 3, level 4. It's like always the what if. I posted this video. It's funny because I wanted to see how people operate. And with social media, it's kind of cool because I get to piss people off, and you get to do whatever you want on social media. I get to see reactions. I can piss my friends off by saying something funny. I can turn up the dial if I want to do it. So one day I'm finishing a run, and when I'm done the run, I go on the curb. I tell Steve to come out. Yo, bring the camera. So I said, okay, let me piss off my friends that don't want to stay active inside of business but are millionaires. I didn't want to piss off I wanted to piss off my friends that were already millionaires. So I go on this video, and I'm like, dude, you will never beat me inside of business if you're not fit. Like, somewhat fit. If you don't stay healthy, you just won't win. And I probably went to the extent of saying, like, you won't make millions, just to make more people mad. So the only people I wanted to respond to me, I didn't care about anybody else saying, like, yeah, you're right. Oh, damn, yeah, I got to make, or you're wrong. I cared about my friends that have already made millions and said, dude, you're wrong because I made millions and I'm not fit. Those are the people I wanted to talk to. So I got a lot of those responses. I got 5-10 people that messaged out to me, and they're like, dude, your message was BS because I'm a millionaire and it's not true. And I said, dude, the message was for you. I wanted you to reply back to me. I said, but what if? I said to all of them. I'm like, but what if? I'm like, you already made $1 million. I'm like, I made this post because of you. The post should have opened your mind and said, damn, like, what if I just like got fit and I already made $1 million? You're already gifted. You made $1 million. So now the question is, what if I was fit and I had more mental clarity and I can last longer inside a business? What would my business look like?
But this is interesting.
Nobody asks themselves that question.
I love this because actually my wife and we were just in Hawaii and we were on a run, and it was raining, it was coming down, and we were talking about this exact thing because there are a lot of people who have made millions of dollars that are not in good shape. And you say, well, in order to be successful, you got to be disciplined. You say, well, that dude made millions and he's 100 pounds overweight. But my argument to her was, I agree with you. He had to be disciplined in order to gain the skill set to learn how to make money. But it no longer is uncomfortable for him to make money because he got good at that skill. So no longer is he pushing himself outside of his comfort zone. And that's why you'll see these dudes that have made a lot of money that are out of shape, because now in order to continue making money and get in good shape, they've got to go seek that pain again. They've got to go seek that discipline. They've got to get uncomfortable, and it hurts. And now they have to do both.
Well, it's an ego thing. It's an ego thing because once you made money, your ego's high, so you don't want to go listen to somebody, or you don't want to sell yourself back down to a 3, right? Because money, like, it's that, like, if you think, especially for men, if you think of men, our whole life is like produce and make money.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna tell a man, hey, by the way, you haven't figured out the game, but you're a millionaire, but you haven't figured out the game, the guy doesn't want to go think of that. Like, they're going to try to ignore it and try to suffocate it with more money. And we've all been there. Like, listen, in beginning stages of my career too, like, I've traveled a lot, and I was young. Like, I was 27, 28, and I was traveling the world, and like, I got well overweight.
Me too.
And I said, damn. I said, okay, this is normal. It's fine. It's cool. You made money because you're on that hunt for money. But I have to sell myself back down. I have to get into an uncomfortable position again. And I think you can only do that for yourself. Like, you just got to get real with yourself. And I don't think it comes from a coach. I think it comes from when you get real with yourself and you truly look at results. Because when somebody wants to change money, they look at where they're at. They look at their bank account. They don't try to run away from it. They're like, oh, I'm broke. When you try to change weight, you don't try to wear something baggy, you try to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, oh, I'm overweight. That's a real conversation, gets you uncomfortable. That's how you get results inside of life. Most people avoid that, right? So they'll wear something more loose or something like that. I don't want to look at the reality. So I tell people, I say, sometimes you don't need a coach. Sometimes you just got to look at the reality of your life. Like, you don't need somebody to tell you got to work harder. Maybe just look at your bank account and it's a reflection, right? So that uncomfortable drive, it comes from ego. When men make money, they don't want to sell themselves back on uncomfort.
Yeah.
So I had to take my shirt off in the mirror, literally take pictures. And I sent it to my whole family.
Yeah.
I said, guys, this is crazy. And they all started laughing at me again. I said, oh, geez, this is the reality.
Look what happened to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it happens to everybody. I mean, it
happened to me.
Definitely happened to all of us.
And the worst is when you're fit, right? And then you get unfit. That's the worst, right? It's like if you made $1 million and then if you're broke and you don't have money, it's okay. But if you made $10 million and then you lose $10 million, that's the worst. If you're fit, growing up like us, playing sports, and then you get well overweight, you're like, oh, damn, this sucks.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. For sure.
But it is an identity thing, just like in sales or in your relationships or with your fitness. It becomes your identity. I had done a physique show back in 2021, and I was like 5% body fat.
Whoa.
So now you always look at yourself differently. As growing up as a kid, looking at yourself in the mirror the whole time. You're fit, athletic, playing sports, hitting the gym, and now that has become my identity. When I started to get these little, I call them the dad handles back here, it's like, what in the hell is going on? I don't feel like I'm doing anything different, but I got to turn up the activity because my identity is in these things that I've committed to, and there's no going back for me. And that's the difference between, I think, when people succeed at a high level and when they don't, is they don't tolerate. They don't tolerate going down with their checks or those big $9,000 weeks. I'm not going to tolerate these freaking things. So I'd turn it up.
So this is interesting because, Daniel, I would love to get your perspective on people saying, when is enough enough? Or, you've made all this money, isn't it enough? Or how much is enough? And all, which is total BS, right? But I know people.
You got to let them answer.
Yeah.
I know.
You just influence.
I know people think, hold on. But so I know people think that, and I'm sure you hear it all the time, is how much is enough? And what is your perspective, and how would you help somebody reframe that belief?
Again, like for me, potential number one. So I always like to say is like there more left. Like I just like to see. I always like to see what I can do. Like, is there more left? 2, comparison. I'm huge. Like I'm huge in comparison. If I see somebody that's 45, they made millions and they're jacked. You start thinking of yourself. You're like, okay, why can't I? So I like, when's enough? Well, first of all, you'll never beat the weight on the bench. That's never going to happen. There's always more weight to put on. That's fine. What I'm trying to cover in my head is like, what's the limiting belief to be like that guy? Yeah. Because there's a lid, right? There's a lid inside of business. So there's a lid inside of health. But I'm trying to figure out like, what excuse did I sell myself not to be like that guy? Because there's a guy that walks in the gym, he's overweight, but he has a Ferrari. But then there's a guy on the bench press that's putting up 300 pounds on the bench press. And the guy's like, man, I want to be like that. There's no way I can be like that guy though. And then the guy that's on the bench press that's fit is looking at the guy with the Ferrari and saying, man, I can never be a millionaire like that guy. So to me, that's an interesting situation because in each area of their life, they uncovered one lid. This guy uncovered the lid in fitness. This guy uncovered the lid as a millionaire. So I'm always just thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, why can't I uncover this lid? Like, why can this person do it and I can, and that person's 40 or whatever the case is?
Yeah.
Right? So for me, I just think like there's a potential inside of me where I said, no, there's more. And again, I tell my family the same thing. I'm like, if it worked, how do you stop?
Yeah.
Like, if it worked, how do you stop? Again, maybe it's a mentality thing saying like, if my parents come to me and they say, hey, by the way, so you did what you wanted to do. When are you going to slow down? When's enough? I said, interesting the way you think. Because I'm like, it worked. Because in the beginning, when you build a business, you're like this, right? You're like, especially when you're a business owner, when you're a salesperson, you don't got to do too much of this because there's a blueprint. It's like, hey, Jack went to make $50,000 a month. You don't really got to do this because your leaders have already designed it for you. There's a little bit of this in sales, but then when you go build a business, you're really doing this because you're like, am I going to recruit the right people? Do I have the right systems? And then I look at my family. I'm like, okay, so in the first 4 years we did this, and then it worked. How do you we were like, hopefully it works, and then it works. I'm like, how do you expect somebody to stop when it worked?
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I was saying, I'm like, if I was already crazy in the first 4 years, I'm like, I look at things as signs. And I have people that, whether they're friends inside a business, that look good. Their body's amazing and they're 56 years old, and I'm 32. There ain't no way that I can say, hey, I have an excuse to be unfit.
Yeah.
Right? Like a friend of mine, which you guys know, like Andy is in the space, and Andy's like 40 something, and Andy's jacked, right? And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm saying to myself, okay, well, he's 40. We probably have this. I'm a little bit more crazy on the road, right? He's more centralized, but that would probably be my excuse to say, well, I can't be fit. So when I looked at it, I'm like, well, that's somebody that I can compare my career with because we're both trainers, both busy, both training people. I get how it is to pour into people 24/7, but there it is right there. Somebody right there, they could stay fit, like extraordinarily fit. That's obviously a passion of his to be like jacked or whatever the case is. But I also said there is zero excuse to be in my position because a lot of the trainers that are in my position, they weren't that healthy. When I looked at them, they weren't that healthy because they travel the world, you eat good, whatever. You're always at nighttime. It's hard when you're on 250 flights. When people go on vacation, they slip up after a week. I'm like, imagine your whole life was a vacation. So I had to reframe myself because I'm like, only a person that can stay fit is a great closer, vice versa, right? So you're thinking of like, if you want to stay fit, you got to close yourself on something different. So I had to reframe my positioning because when I was traveling, I would consider that travel. And if you consider a travel, it's going to be vacation, you're not going to work out, or it's going to be optional. I had to sell myself that is life. I had to close myself on a different frame saying, no, that's my life. Traveling now is becoming my life. It's not, oh, that's travel. That's your life.
Yeah.
So I had to close myself saying, this is my life. How do I optimize and put fitness around that, etc.?
So you're creating a new identity.
100%. Yeah. Like I had to reclose myself on something because it's either the excuse or the reason.
Yeah.
So you got to.
I got a question for you. Did it give you? How long did it take you to get there? And did it give you like an anxiety when you were trying to figure it out and put it all together and try and fit all the important things into that schedule?
Actually, man, it was kind of when it happened, when I realized when you start taking back on your health, you start to realize like everything starts to free up. It's really interesting because then you get better sleep, right? And things, I think in the first like week to 2 weeks, you break that threshold. After that 2 to 3 week threshold, you start, like my business was easier. Everything grew. Income grew. Things were much more clear. You know, a lot of people that don't focus on the health side, they just don't realize not just to have the best body. It's like it clears everything up inside of your life.
Yeah.
Like it gives you a lot of peace inside of your life, inside of, whether it's with your goals, the way you think, the sleep that you get. So I think it was just easier.
Well, your hormones are better. I mean, you can make better decisions, It is. Brandon still has too much estrogen, but, he can fix that at some point.
Yeah.
He's got those bouncing boobs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think talking about the anxiety too. In my opinion, you get that anxiety when you're half in, half out. It's like when you fully commit. It's like I agree. Everything seems to free up. It's like this is just what I'm gonna do, and you accept it instead of fighting it. And
I'm not sure if I am feeling the anxiety, but when I have a target and I haven't quite got there yet, it's like I've got this urgency and this pressure that I put on myself, and it gives me this little knot in my chest right here. Like I just haven't quite figured it out yet.
I think it's ambition, dude. I don't think it's anxiety. I think anxiety is like hoping and wishing something happens. Ambition is saying, damn, I got a feeling in my gut because I know the price I'm going to have to go pay to achieve this thing. It's big. So I think there's a difference. And I think, there are people that are listening to this that have anxiety and they have that feeling, and that's because they're trying to make this decision. They're negotiating the price. Like, man, is it going to be worth it? They're always asking someone, tell me it's worth it. Give me that one line that's going to work that all of a sudden I can close everybody.
What's the one thing?
Yeah, and I hate that. Like, what's the one thing that I can do that'll change my life? Like, there is not one thing. And anybody that tells you there is just BSing you.
How many times have you heard that question?
Every single day.
Every single
Dude,
day.
The amount of time, I just don't answer it anymore. Like, I really, really just don't answer. Because think of me, it's like, what's the one line? Every single time. I'm done a whole seminar. And then somebody will literally ask me, what's the one line? I'm like,
were you here?
Yeah, I'm like, did you not just see how I'm like, it's a build-up? And I'm like, there's no closing line that's going to make you a millionaire. Especially for people like us, we understand that now, that there's no cool sales line.
He's the guy that hadn't learned a script yet.
Well, that. And people. Like, there's no one line for people.
Yeah.
There's no one line. There ain't no pickup line that's going to get you married.
Right.
Right? So, Yeah, I think the negotiation thing. It's like people negotiate with themselves. There's no negotiation. There's no urgency. There's zero negotiation, and people are playing in the middle. They're just playing in the middle, and that's what kills people. It's like the devil lies in the middle.
Yeah.
The devil never wants you to make a decision.
That's so good.
If a devil can take somebody out, it's like, if I could just keep this person indecisive, I can kill this person's business. I remember Brian saying something like that, Tracy. I was listening to one of his audio tapes when I was young, 16, 17. He said, if I can wedge self-doubt into somebody, right, I can kill this person's sales career, he said. So I'm like, yeah, if somebody can stay in indecisive mode, you could just kill somebody, because the devil never just wants to make a decision, yes or no. If you make a yes or no, you outwilled the devil, but you can't. You can't say yes, you can't say. So the devil's just like, I can just keep this person indecisive about everything.
Yep.
Just get this person and in just one area of their life. If I get them indecisive in every area of their life, it relays into all the other areas of their life. Yeah. So when people ask me for advice about sales, this was recent actually. One of my friends, she's a top income earner inside of her company. She does well. She does like $80,000 a month, and she's looking at me and she's saying like, man, just low $40,000, $50,000 a month, etc. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, this is not an $80,000 a month individual language. Like, I know how this person's a confident individual inside a business to make $80,000 as a lady every single month. Mm-hmm. And I just looked, I'm like, where is there one area of your life right now that you're indecisive about because it's screwing up your business? And the devil's getting you indecisive about one area of your life, and it's going to wipe out every other area of your life. If you're half in, half out, and it was obviously like a relationship thing. And I said, it's screwing up your business right now. I'm like, take care of it. You don't need business. You're at $80,000 a month. You're asking me, how do you recruit another leader? Come on. You have an area inside of your life that you're indecisive about, and it's just wearing off inside of your business. So I usually challenge people to say, maybe just step back aside from sales and just figure out what you're indecisive about inside of life, because it's probably falling inside of your business 100%, right?
I love this, because there's a saying says, show me how you do anything, I'll show you how to do everything. Right. And what you're saying, there's a scripture. It says, but since you're like lukewarm water, neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth.
Whoa.
Right. I don't know if you knew that. It's Revelation 3:16.
I did it.
It's either be hot or cold, or I'll spit you out. So I think it's a powerful thing talking about indecisiveness. Once you make a decision, and this goes with business or relationships. It's like in your book you talk about people not committing to where they're at, the opportunity they have. The grass is greener on the other side, and I think is why a lot of times you see dudes bounce around from company to company to company, and they never win. And it's not that they didn't have the ability to; it's that they were indecisive. They were always looking for something different instead of planting their flag and committing. Right?
Yeah, that's. I ask people too as well, Mike. If it's not you, do you have other indecisive people around you?
Yeah.
That's huge, because like you might be good at making decisions, but there's somebody that's undecisive around you, and they'll sell you out of your opportunity too as well. And you got to be like, is that a decisive or an indecisive person? Like I look at that, I'm like, the person that I'm taking advice from, are they decisive or indecisive? Because I can't take advice from somebody that's indecisive. Right? They'll tell me I'm being indecisive.
One of my favorite books is the Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. You read that one?
Yeah. Very young,
so
long
he
time
calls
ago,
it drifting. So all those people that are indecisive,
drifters.
95% of people are drifting through
98.
life. 98%.
98, yeah.
98%.
That's what he says.
It's crazy.
It is.
And then the other 2%, the people that get around to doing something, they have that decisiveness, or what he calls it is the definiteness of purpose.
That's right.
Definite purpose, yeah.
Yeah.
That was in
So good.
Such a cool concept.
Yeah, it's
how applicable it is to everything.
I think with winners in business and sales, everything's a must and not a maybe. You think of, when we're talking about this subject, and people can think of themselves when they watch this episode, but if they go set a target out and they think of it inside of their head, I ask people, I'm like, is it a must or a maybe? Because if it's a must, you get it done. If it's a maybe, like anything that's on a small scale, if it's a must, I think I said this on the call last week. I said, if you had to pay a bill and it was $97 and it was a must, your subconscious brain figures out how to do it. It's weird the way it works. Yeah. If it's a maybe, you won't figure it out. I said most business goals that people set are maybes. It would be nice. Yeah, it would be nice. You're not hitting it, right?
Imagine if you
That
could
is
just
big.
build that into everything that you do in your life.
A must.
It's a must.
Yep.
So good.
No question. Not going to tolerate anything less. And it seems like just from the little bit of experience I've had looking at your social media and the time we've had working together, building out this playbook, it seems like you have built that in, and most successful people have this in common. It's just like, there is no other option. I'm going to bring the most amount of value that I possibly can So I just wanted to say before we jump off here, dude, I appreciate all the effort you put in.
I know your
Looking
guys'
forward.
logo better than mine, by the way. Guys, I'm not going to lie. Our playbook, our manual, I was looking at it, and I opened up the playbook, and I visioned the JKR logo on our playbook. I'm like, guys, we have to delete our whole playbook. And they're like, my team was like, why?
You just
I'm
built
like,
me a badass playbook. I was going to say, how good is your guys?
I'm like, I have to delete it because I'm like, I just built out a company's playbook better than ours. But the reason why is because, and I think this is why I screwed up also in the online space, because I think people sell a lot of fluff. And in my head, I said, I can't do nothing at 99%, and no winner can do anything at 99%.
Well, I'm glad I caught you at this stage in business and while you're still doing it 100%, because that was gold.
I just don't think I would ever do it I just don't think I'd ever be able to sleep at 90%. Like, I would just never be able to sell it.
Well, I think one of the things you need to have confidence in, I swear this happened, because I called Jefferson's wife and said, how much did we pay him? Because the amount of value that he has brought is tremendous. Like, it is very – I think anybody listening to this, but you're one-to-many selling, I think, dude, no doubt in my mind you're going to crush it because the amount of value we've watched already. And the event's not till tomorrow.
Well, dude,
and we just know what it's going to cover.
Well, think of it, right? So I looked at the old guys in the space, right? Like the Hopkins that you guys trained from and stuff. I looked until they were done. This was the first thing I wrote. Like, I was studying these guys, not what they say. I didn't care about sales training. I studied their careers, right? Because there was only a handful of them. Now there's like millions of people, but back then there was 5. You had like maybe Robbins. Robbins started when he was young. You had Tom Hopkins, Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, and a couple other. Grant when he was young. So I studied them and I looked at their age, and I said, "Oh, they went till they were 65."
Yeah.
Like Tracy went. This guy had, I think it was throat cancer. He kept going till 65. Yeah. Another guy named Bob Proctor did it. He died doing what he was doing.
Jim Rohn too.
Jim Rohn, same thing. So as I did that, I said, everybody in this space, when I did things with them, like, man, why did you charge? I'm like, dude, I got 30, 40 years in this game. Like, when I contact you, I'm not thinking like a 1-year thing. I'm like, I'm still going to be in this for the next 30 years. If I deliver garbage and crap, it's like now I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Because now I don't have a customer for the next 30 years. I don't think people think like that in business. I'm like, you're either thinking like an Instagram model, you got a 2-year career, or you're like us and we got a 30-year freaking career, 40-year career. I still got 32 years, and that's what drives me to deliver the most, right? So I know like when there was like delays and stuff, I'm like, but my brain, I'm sure you guys can see, I'm like, my brain says this is not finished yet, right? So I'm making it like I'm making mine. The same thing, like I do everything. Same thing, great salesperson trait. The salesperson trait is sell to others as you would like to be sold. Most people that say things at a sale, I always ask them, like, dude, how would it feel if you just sold yourself like that? Like, can you smell a little bit of the BS? Yeah, we'll change it up a little bit. Yeah. Change it up. Like, that's it. Like a lot of people can just, that's why I think watching tape's important. Because when they say sell to others as you would like to be sold, the golden rule of sales, it's, dude, would you want to hear that on the other end? And I know there's great tonalities. I believe in tonality. But Jamil and I have this line where we say, like, the best tonality is giving a crap, right? That there's no better tonality than that. I'm not a great tonality person. I'm really bad at that, actually. Like, if I were to look at my, like, measures of, like, whisper in and whisper out, I was never good at that. Because I was always...
But there's conviction that's coming out in your voice, man.
Yeah, there was, like, sometimes if there was an objection, I'm like, what do you mean you need to think about it? And I would get real with them. I'd be like, listen, what did you think about 6 months ago? Where does it end up today? And they could see that I'm trying to help, right? So... I just think that comes from, like, when you sell from the heart and not always from logic, you win inside a business, right? When customers can see that you actually care and that you're working hard, people buy from it. They buy always from this. They don't buy always from this, right? Same thing with speaking, training.
Well, you said that there's so many people in the world doing what Hopkins and Zig, and I don't think there is. I think they're fake.
Right.
I think a lot of them say that they're training somebody, but they've never actually done anything to actually teach somebody how to get some good results. So I think there might be a lot of people that say they're in the space, but I don't, like you talked about whether it's Tom Hopkins or Tony Robbins, how many people they could put in a room with no social media.
Crazy, dude.
I talk about a lot of times Martin Luther King did the I Had a Dream speech. He didn't have social media. 250,000 people showed up. And you think about that. I mean, it's not like he was running TV commercials for everybody to show up, but he got 250,000 people to show up that day. So you think about somebody with influence, they've provided a lot of value. And I think that's what you're doing. And I don't know anybody in the modern day that is really providing as much real value as you're providing. So I think it's powerful, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Daniel. I there's not very many people in this world that light me up and not just because of your energy, but because you teach the how-tos. You do care. You can tell you care, and the passion you bring. And these two gentlemen, that's why I'm in business with them as well, because there's just a few people in my life that do that. So I'm very excited to be building a relationship with you and working with
Likewise.
you. And we can't wait for tomorrow's event. It's going to be incredible. So we appreciate you coming and spending some time with us
I
here
appreciate
today.
you guys. Thank you.
Many more to come in the future, man.
Absolutely. So, hey, thank you so much for plugging into the first reintroduction of the Solid Podcast. Excited to get this out to all of you. Please like and subscribe. Share this with as many people as you would like to that you feel could get some value out of this. Follow this gentleman, Daniel G. Check out his new book, The Sales Game. And definitely
Let me do a plug. Wait,
Yeah,
since we're on
please do.
camera right now, if you guys are in the Utah area anywhere, we've just designed, like I want to plug myself in with you guys for a second. We designed, when we were talking about a playbook, because there might be some people watching that are part of the organization, or we can clip this out. When I said we've designed a playbook that I probably think out of any door-to-door, not just in windows and doors, I think in like any door-to-door industry, outside selling, whatever is direct selling, because there's a huge component side of it. I think that playbook is probably more in depth even than the book that I wrote. So, and the reason being is because like we wanted to take this organization to the complete next level where there's zero competition. So we've designed the playbook together where I said that's probably the most intricate, most advanced. It can go from beginner to advanced playbook. So I think, you guys already taken the business to one level, but I think what we've designed out, the people that are inside of the organization are basically spoiled with it. Like they're spoiled with one of the most powerful sales playbooks inside of the organization. And if you guys are in the Utah area, you guys are maybe looking at something, man, what do I do? The individuals here, I think you guys just started business. The way I see it is you guys just started. You guys are growing right now, growing to a massive, a bigger space. I vouch for you guys because I'll be working with you guys, I know, for the decade to come. And I'm with them. We're working together throughout the whole year. So if you guys are looking for people that have actually done it in sales, been in sales for well over a decade in different industries, and also looking for something that has, not just the selling component, but also the building component, this is a great home to be at, JKR. It's amazing, and I'm just glad to be a part of you guys. So I'm all for it for you guys.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's not just Utah; it's nationwide. We are expanding nationwide. And we're in multiple states right now and expanding every day. So I appreciate that, Daniel, and amen to the workbook.
Clip that. Give me a commission if anybody joins.
Yeah, you're in. You're in. Yeah. Okay, sounds good. But thank you so much for plugging in. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. And till then, stay solid.